What's good, peeps? What is good? How's everyone doing? Hopefully everyone is doing very, very well. All right, if you're new to the channel, don't forget, please, to hit that subscribe button. And if you like the videos, don't forget to like and share them, please. All right, before we talk Daniel Dubois, Joyce, just a quick congratulations to Boxing Social, who've, I believe, just passed 100,000 subscribers. So cheers to Rob Tebbett and all the gang at Boxing Social. And I've said on this channel, I don't know, hundreds of times, I think Rob's the best in the business. It's not often that you get a journalist covering any sport that's not afraid to ask the questions. And Rob sometimes pushes the boundaries, but he's as good as it gets, honestly, as good as it gets across any sport. I'm not just saying in boxing. In terms of a journalist, a reporter covering a sport, like, Rob's as good as it gets. So cheers to Boxing Social, Rob Tebbett and all the gang, and onwards and upwards to 200,000, right? Or whatever their next target is, 150,000. Yeah. That's just some very cheap and cheerful this is. Captain Morgan, what is it again? Spiced gold. This does the job. It's been a long day. I needed a drink. So why not a bit of cheap spiced gold? All right, let's talk Daniel Dubois versus Joyce. It's fight week, people. That fight happens in, what is it now, 5 days away? 5 days away? Can't wait for it. Can't wait. Congratulations to both as well. Both would have taken a massive pay cut for this fight to happen. Let's not forget, there was talks about this fight happening on pay-per-view. So that would have been a bit more money in the bank. Then the fight was going to happen at the O2 Arena. It would have sold out the O2 Arena because there was a lot of talk about Anthony Yard versus Lyndon Arthur on the undercard. So it would have sold out that 20,000. That's a bit more in the bank. So you remove those two things from it now. Both are taking, I wouldn't be shocked if it's as much as a quarter or even a third of the money they would have been getting for this fight when it was supposed to happen when was it supposed to happen in 1st April? So well done to both for getting it on. It's a fight that I can't wait. In terms of fights that I've really, anticipation, really wanted to see, it must be in my top 5 of the year. Must be. I'm trying to think of it. I was actually thinking about this before doing the video. So at the start of the year, my number one with fights that were going to happen, so not dream fights, just fights that we knew were going to happen. Fury versus Wilder 2 was number 1 at the start of the year. Loma Lopez was definitely number 2. Definitely. I was really excited for that one. I'm trying to think of what others that I was really excited for. Fights that have happened that were going to happen. It might be as high as number 3 or 4, just because I've absolutely no idea how this fight plays out. Absolutely. I haven't got a clue, right? And most fights, you kind of have an idea, right? Most people say, this, I've no idea how this, if someone gets knocked out in the first round, I'm not going to be surprised. If Daniel Dubois gets chinned and is flat out, I won't go oh my God, it won't surprise me. I mean, I probably will still do, oh my God, but it won't surprise me. I have no idea how this fight plays out whatsoever. I've gone back and forth in terms of picking a favorite, and I still keep changing my mind. Honestly, when the fight was first announced, I was Daniel Dubois. Then I was like, oh, no, wait a minute. Joyce is Olympic silver medalist. I mean, he beat Bryant Jennings. Bryant Jennings was legit. Beat Bryant Jennings, who's very tough. I mean, everyone still uses Bryant Jennings for sparring. He's very good. Beat him. So he's ticked the box. He's beat, people like Stavern. I know Stavern's way past it, but, you could argue that Daniel Dubois hasn't beaten anyone, even at Stavern's level. That's true, right? My high praise for Daniel Dubois is because I think he has a high ceiling. But we haven't seen it yet. He's knocked out people that he should be knocking out as far as I'm concerned. Yes, I was a bit surprised about the Nathan Gorman performance. I didn't expect that. I don't think we all expected that. But I think now we all knew the issues Nathan Gorman was having in the lead up to that fight. That doesn't take away from Daniel Dubois, but there were issues, right? We can't not mention them. So Daniel Dubois has beaten no one. Joyce has beaten someone, plus he's Olympic silver medalist. I mean, they don't give out those medals for free. Should have been Olympic gold medalist. A lot of people thought he beat Tony Yoka, who everyone is very high on. That's Joe Joyce. You know? So it's not easy. It's a pick 'em fight. It's a pick 'em fight. I think a lot of people are saying, you know, Daniel Dubois wins this fight early, Joe Joyce wins it late. I don't know if it's that. I don't know. Boxing can't be that simple. I don't think it is that simple when two guys that are both, 18 stone start landing leather. Joe Joyce can hit as well. There's this narrative that Daniel Dubois is the puncher. Joe Joyce would knock out everyone Daniel Dubois knocked out. Fact. So why Daniel Dubois is the puncher in this, I don't know. Don't know. All I do know is that this really is a fantastic fight. You know what? I was just thinking about other fights that I was really excited about. Let me not get too excited about this one. I was really, really excited about both Charlos in their fights against Rosario and Derevyanchenko. Very, very high on those fights as well. And obviously got Spence Garcia. But you know what? It's definitely in and around the top 10. It's in and around the top 10. And that's good enough for me. That really is good enough for me. The winner of this as well, this is no hyperbole, the winner of this could fight for a world title. I mean, there is a very, very, very good chance that Joshua vacates, by the way, his WBO belt. And if he does, then it's Usyk versus someone, right? I mean, now that someone could be Daniel Dubois. That someone also could be Joseph Parker, who's very high up on the WBO rankings. Or it could be Joe Joyce. So the prize here is big. The prize here is very big. I don't think Sam Jones would have any problem in putting in Joe Joyce with Alexander Usyk next for a world title. I do think Frank Warren would have a bit of reservation in putting in Daniel Dubois with Usyk. I don't think Sam would, because that's what he's on, right? He's on a fast track to world titles. He's on a fast track to fight the best. So it is. It's an intriguing fight. It really is. Gun to the head, I would go Joe Joyce wins this. Gun to the head. I mean, if Daniel Dubois knocks out Joe Joyce clean, ices him, fuck me, that's a statement, and he's arrived. If he can do that, even if he goes 12 with Joe Joyce and wins it going away, that's a statement. I mean, he's a young kid. He's a young kid. He's a prospect. And I mean, I don't know. A lot of people were very, very high on Joe Joyce. I think it's kind of been reined in a little bit, the hype around Joe Joyce. But Joe Joyce is good. Joe Joyce is good. So it's going to be a great fight. I think Daniel Dubois' gas tank will be tested. I think he has a gas tank. He's very confident. He's young, right? He's going to have a gas tank. He's muscle bound, but he's going to have a gas tank just because of his youth. I think he'll get through it. I think his boxing ability is underrated. He's actually not as bad as people think. I think people think he's a one-trick pony. He isn't. I mean, he's got a good jab. He doubles up on that jab as well, which is quite rare in the heavyweights. He doubles up on a jab. He does try and go to the body, but he's doing all this against very limited opponents as far as I'm concerned. When there was a guy that was able to smother him and show him different looks, and Kevin Johnson couldn't get rid of him at all, right? Let's be honest. And I think Joe Joyce, although he doesn't have the ability of Kevin Johnson, but he'll be up against someone that can box. Joe Joyce is actually quite crude, but can box. Very slow with his feet, but can box. Who are you picking, people? Who are you picking to win this one? Again, gun to the head, I'm going Joe Joyce. I am. I'm going Joe Joyce to win. I was very much Daniel Dubois. I just feel like Joe Joyce is just... If Daniel Dubois can't detonate him, Joe Joyce will be there. And Joe Joyce can take a punch as well. He's been hit. He's been clipped a lot. And he just seems to keep coming forward. It's a fucking nightmare, man. So I'm going Joe Joyce to win it on points or late stoppage. That's what I'm going for. Although I would love Daniel Dubois to win, right? Just because he's young and it's a good story. It really is a good story. Again, not much amateur. Not much, you know. I mean, he had some, but he wasn't like an amateur standout, Daniel Dubois, right? Far from it. So it'll be a good story to see what he can do. And because he's young and he can take the sport on. I'd like to see him win, but I do think Joe Joyce is going to win. On the same night, it's Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. Pay-per-view. That's crazy. I still find it crazy that fight's happening. Mike Tyson hasn't been in a boxing ring in a legit fight since 2005. 2005, people, 15 years. I mean, Roy Jones Jr. at least was in a boxing ring in 2000. Roy Jones Jr. had a legit fight in 2018, 2 years ago. I know people are very excited because they see these 20-second clips from Mike Tyson. I mean, I'm going with the guy that was in a boxing ring 2 years ago. And I think he won, as opposed to a guy that looks good in video clips that have been edited and last fought 15 years ago. I'm going with the 2 years ago guy, personally. So I think Roy Jones will stop Mike Tyson. Stop, and all this then ends. Yeah, if it doesn't end, if Mike Tyson ices Roy Jones, then he ain't stopping, is he? Let's be honest, he's going to be calling for bloody Evander Holyfield. He's going to be calling for everyone. So I'd rather it stop now, if I'm honest with you. All right, let's talk some news that's just come out. Eddie Hall, this is random, but it's there. I'm going to read it out for you anyway. Eddie Hall versus Half4 Beyonce. MTK Global are involved with this event. Now, if you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, these two are strongmen. Eddie Hall, you might know. I mean, he's got a massive YouTube channel. It's got over 1 million subscribers now, I believe. And Half4 Beyonce, arguably the strongest man in the world, although he didn't compete at World's Strongest Man this year, but broke Eddie Hall's deadlift record. Eddie Hall has a deadlift record, or did have a deadlift record of 500 kg. Eddie Hall broke it. Sorry, Beyonce broke it by deadlifting 501 kg. They've always been beefing. They've always had problems. They're now fighting. It's going to be a fight next year. There's a rumor this fight is on DAZN, where MTK are now involved in this event. They're trying to manage the whole event. So it's going to be big, but I'm actually going to tune in and watch it. I mean, I look forward to seeing these two do it. I love both of these guys, but they don't like each other. The fucking man mountains. So let's see what happens when they get it on. All right, WBC super middleweight title status remains under review with board or governors. This is strange. Well, they wanted to do Canelo versus, can't remember the guy's name now, Avni Yildirim, right? The guy that Chris Eubank knocked out way back when, 2-3 years ago. That's what they wanted to do. I don't know who's going to fight for this vacant belt now. It's strange. Ideally, what they really would have loved to have done is put it up for this fight coming up between Canelo and Callum Smith. Obviously, that's not how it works, but I don't think many people would have complained if Canelo versus Callum Smith was for the vacant title. But again, that's not how it works, and you've kind of got to do it correct, right? Joshua versus Pulev, a crowd of 1,000 could be in play for the heavyweight clash. Obviously, this comes after the government have said that fans can return back to stadiums. It basically broken down into tiers. I think if you're in tier 2, a tier 2 lockdown system, then 4,000. If it's a tier 3, 2,000. I don't know where the 1,000 comes from Joshua now, but it'll be good, right? Joshua versus Pulev, regardless of the fact that it's only 1,000. I mean, they should just get the loudest 1,000 people they can. Not the richest, right? It's got to be done properly, but it's good to have fans back. And I think Joshua will benefit from having his fans. Because let's be honest, it will be 1,000 Joshua fans in there, no matter what. Eddie Hearn here saying Wilder versus White is big draw, but White must beat Povetkin first. Let's see what happens. I'm still a bit confused with all this this Wilder Fury thing. I have no idea what's happening here. There was talk about mediation between the two. Obviously, we now know that Fury's fight with Caviar wasn't postponed or put on hold because of Wilder. It had nothing to do with Wilder. Had a lot to do with finances. They couldn't afford to put the fight on. So maybe there isn't a Wilder Fury 3. Maybe there isn't. If there isn't, then I'm guessing Tyson Fury might go straight to the fight with AJ if AJ beats Pulev, which does leave a door open for Wilder to face the winner of White versus Povetkin. And lots of ifs and buts there, but this is boxing, right? Look, it's a big fight. It's a big fight, especially if Wilder can come over here. We have seen Wilder fight over here before. I think people forget he fought Audley Harrison many, many moons ago on the undercard of David Price, Tony Thompson, I think. I think it was that. So he has been over here before. I don't think he'll mind traveling if the money's right. And it's a big fight. That is a big, big fight. If White can get revenge and look good over Povetkin, then Wilder White is massive. I personally don't think it will happen. I can see Wilder facing someone in America instead. Maybe someone like a Kalnaki or Hellenius or someone of that ilk. But we'll see. We'll see. Eubank Jr. Anyone with a middleweight belt is on my hit list. Okay, let's move on. Crawford, I done called out the top welterweights. No need to do it no more. I think there kind of is. Crawford's an interesting one. I've seen a lot of interviews with Terence, and look, massive Terence Crawford fan here. When he says my legacy won't be judged or my legacy won't be affected if I don't fight Errol Spence. Yes, it will. I mean, what world is he living in? It will be affected. Like, it must be. I don't know why you think it wouldn't be. Like, there's no way you can be in the same era as Furman. I guess we can even chuck in Pac-Man because he's still around. Furman, Pac-Man, Spence, Porter, Garcia, and others, right? I mean, there's others out there as well. And not fight them and feel like your legacy won't be affected because you have a world title and have done something against Brook, Benavidez, Kavaliauskas, and Khan. Your legacy will be affected because there's Spence right now who, although Crawford's a freeweight world champion, Spence for me has done more in his career by beating Brook, who was unbeaten at 147. I know got beat up by GGG, but Brook, Porter, and I think he'll beat Garcia. That's solid. That's more than, there's not much on Crawford's resume. I mean, that's disrespectful to the fighters he's fought. Maybe he just makes them look like they're not that much. But I mean, he does need a marquee name on there. And even if it isn't Spence, even a Porter or something, he needs something on that resume desperately. So if he thinks calling them out and them not taking it is him saying I'm okay, it's not okay. You got to do a bit more. Caleb Plant hoped to face Canelo in December, but deal didn't work out. Yeah, I think we would all been a bit upset if that did happen, if I'm honest with you. Frank Warren here just talking a bit about Yard Arthur and a few others. That's a decent fight. Look forward to that one, by the way. Expect Yard to win, but Arthur's decent. It's big, very big light heavyweight. Be interesting to see what they do. Bob Aram stands by Crawford comments, disinterested in promoting his fight. So he's basically said, you know what, he's handing the reins over to Todd Dubois. I don't know, man. I've kind of said my piece on this. I understand a bit what Bob Aram's saying. I don't like the way he said it, but I understand what he's saying in terms of, I mean, people have really even sent me a couple of messages saying, no, he needs to promote. You've got to promote a bit yourself. You've got to look at Alexander Usyk. Alexander Usyk's a good example of someone that, Alexander Usyk can't even speak English. Well, he probably can, but it's not his first language. Clearly struggles to speak English. Every little clip he puts up of, hey, Derek, or anything, it's quite fun. He's promoting, even he understands. This is a guy that literally has done more than Crawford in terms of his whole boxing resume, right? I mean, as an amateur and a pro, but even he realized I've got to try and promote. He's promoted, and all of a sudden he's now in pay-per-view fights. He's lost, 2 fights, minus the one he had against the first fight at heavyweight. Can't remember the guy's name now, Weatherspoon. His fights have been on pay-per-view. He's making money. He's promoting. He's pushed. He can't even speak English. And there you have Crawford who can sell himself that refuses to because, I've got a promoter that should be doing it. Usyk's promoter don't do it for him. He's got to do it. Look at Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker, another example of a fighter that David Higgins actually does promote for him, right? Speaks well. But he's been doing all these little lockdown videos just to try and give himself a bit more, promote himself a bit more. They've been fun. They've been interesting, right? Again, another fighter that's promoting himself, doing his bit. And I dare say he might have a bigger following in New Zealand than Crawford has in America. But he's promoting himself. I think you've got to do a bit more. You can't just rely on the promoter. Not nowadays when boxers have all these tools of social media to him. Like, boxers didn't have that 20, 30 years ago. Imagine what imagine what a Prince Nassim Hamed could do now with all the social media that's available to him. Jesus. Prince Nassim Hamed would have had a YouTube channel and it would have been ridiculous. Boxers have got to do a bit more. That's what I think anyway. Right, let's move on very quickly because it's getting late. Oh, here we go. Mike Tyson willing to face Fury Joshua Wilder in exhibitions for charity. All right, cool. All right, let's end on this story. Alan Babbage. Filip Hrgović is fake. He bet against me. I want him. This Babbage one's an interesting. I don't know if this is all... Actually, he's clearly very serious about this Hrgović. Hrgović will smash Babbage. Do you know what I mean? I like Babbage. Hrgović would ruin him quickly. But Hrgović is legit. Hrgović could be a top 10 heavyweight right now. Hrgović could beat some of the top guys right now. Right now. I mean, I think Babbage is way off Hrgović. Way. But I don't know. Look, as long as Babbage keeps winning, right? If he can, again, go up another level in his next fight and go up another level, he might get to a point where they're like, okay, let's just have the fight. Let's have the fight in front of fans in Croatia. Let's make some money. And maybe that's what he's doing it for. But for me, they're levels apart. But I don't know. You keep putting people in front of Babbage and he keeps knocking them over. It's going to get to a stage where, and I think he said this as well, that we don't rate him, where we do start to rate him and we do start to call for that fight. But for me, for now, he's miles away. Anyway, people, have a good day or night, wherever you're watching this in the world. Stay safe and enjoy this week's boxing. Peace.